No, we
As I say-
talked for a
as I
few
say-
minutes
as I say-
last
as
night,
I
and
say-
you actually seem to know
as I-
nothing about the subject that
As
you've
I
made a
so-
film
As
about.
I say, hope.
Every single example that I've investigated and every single example that anti-fracking activists have said where fracking has caused cancer, contaminated water, polluted water, has found, when examined by independent scientists, to be baseless.
Phelim McAleer likes to make the claim that fracking has never ever polluted drinking water.
Fracking doesn't cause water contamination. It never did. There's been not one case of fracking ever having polluted water anywhere.
It's part of his brand.
I don't want people to misunderstand me. I'm not saying maybe baseless, needs further investigation. They have been found to be baseless.
Yeah.
There are no ill health effects of fracking. There are no water contamination effects of fracking.
Phelim probably knows that there's actually a compendium of scientific findings showing harms from fracking. In 2013 alone, 154 peer-reviewed studies on the impacts of fracking were released. Almost all of them reveal problems. Yes, there is evidence that fracking has polluted water and caused health harms. Phelim won't answer any questions about these claims. I found that out after sending media inquiries to his office for a year, and then bumping into Phelim in person and trying to get an interview and ask just a few simple questions. Hi, my name is Hope. I'm a producer with AK Productions. More than 2 years ago, I started researching cases of fracking-related contamination for an AK Productions film. I've been around the country researching and talking with victims, viewing their evidence and filming the effect contamination has had on their lives and their families. I first met Phelim McAleer in Texas in the fall of 2014, when I filmed his debate with Calvin Tillman, the former mayor of Dish, Texas, the site of a gas-related contamination event. I've been trying to ask Phelim questions about his film Frack Nation. He's the director of the film Frack Nation, for more than a year. After 10 or so media inquiries, here we were in the same room. Thought I'd introduce myself, give him my card, and hopefully set up an interview. He started insulting me and calling me a spammer, and just rudely walked away. He refused really to even talk to me. During the debate, he made the same bad jokes.
If you support a ban on fracking, you should have a new bumper sticker. Ban fracking today, hang a gay tomorrow.
And the same outlandish claims.
The reason I'm here is because most of what Calvin Tillman, most of his campaign, and most of the anti-fracking campaign in general, is based on exaggerated but mostly fraudulent data. Often fraudulent data. My cat has died, my granny has died, my wife doesn't like me anymore. Fracking is blamed for everything. Well, they brought in the local DEP. They said the water is safe.
That's just plain false. DEP has never said that drinking water in Dimock is now safe. DEP is the Department of Environmental Protection, the state regulator for Pennsylvania. Here's an email from DEP, part of my research on the Dimock water contamination case. DEP states that their 9-mile moratorium on drilling and fracking, in place since 2008 around Dimock, remains in place because Cabot Oil and Gas has not yet remediated the methane pollution that their activities have caused. This is one of the original state documents about Cabot's pollution in Dimock. 3 of these official state consent orders were issued as Cabot Oil and Gas, the guilty operator, continually failed to meet requirements. The department has determined that 18 drinking water supplies that serve 19 homes within the Dimock-Carter Road area have been affected from drilling activities. In his film Frack Nation, Phelim leaves out the Cabot consent orders and frames real contamination victims in Dimock as frauds and liars. The film covers the 9 Mile moratorium.
The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection introduced a moratorium, a ban, until they could study the situation. This meant no drilling by Cabot in a 9-mile box around Dimock.
And that ban still remains today because DEP has investigated further and found that the methane levels in the water wells around Dimock are still elevated. I got one chance to ask a question after the debate. I asked Phelim about the existing moratorium because he claims that the water in Dimock is safe.
DEP is stating that they will lift the moratorium as soon as the water is found to be safe.
You're confusing
And
politics
yet-
with science. So the DEP is a political, is now taking a political stand. The fact that I don't accept, I'm telling you that's not true.
So
What you're
you
saying
don't
is not-
accept that
No,
DEP
it's
has
not
said,
true.
okay,
It's not true.
that
It's not
DEP
true.
has said they will not lift the 9-mile moratorium until the methane levels are correct. That's untrue.
The DEP has said the water is safe.
He didn't seem to know what he was talking about. He just made strange claims.
Have you read the DEP's
have.
results yet?
I have,
you read their
actually.
press release?
I spoke with DEP and asked about a press release. There is no such thing. It seemed like he was trying to get away from questions that he couldn't answer. Phelim asked me to produce the paperwork I've been asking about.
Is that their latest statement?
That's actually from Karen Connolly, who is the spokesperson for DEP.
Okay, would you
Yes.
go now and find your phone and get that statement for me?
And then-
right.
yes.
Well, would you go now to your computer and bring me the press release? Go and get that on your computer, please.
I never knew you had to bring paperwork to ask a simple question. He offered to give me an interview.
When can I take you guys up on that? I got a yes on a further interview. When can I take you up on
We're going
that?
to do the interview now, here.
Oh, super.
And then he flaked. The next night, Frack Nation was playing at the University of Texas, and Phelim came for the Q&A afterwards. I had seen the film, so I was sitting outside waiting for the Q&A with no plans to ask Phelim any more questions. When he came out and was just standing around talking, I thought I would strike up a conversation and see if I could talk him into an interview. It did not go well. Again, he started out calling me names. He called me a spammer, he called me a stalker. I don't even know what a spammer is, honestly.
Are you going to let me speak?
Actually, I don't want to know why.
I have to go to the bathroom. Would you like to follow me in?
No, I really wouldn't. I don't usually follow men in the bathroom. It's
Well-
this way. But we could talk along the way. I can show you where it is. I live in California. I'm making a production, a documentary film that's going to feature
I'm very
your
aware of that
film.
because you've written to
And
me a
I
number
would,
of times.
yes,
Yeah.
and you've never answered a media
No, I
inquiry.
haven't.
It's this way.
Being a stalker.
And so I'm not a
being
stalker.
spammer and
I'm not a stalker. You cannot answer hard questions. You refuse. Yeah, that's right. You refuse to answer hard questions.
Keep in mind, this is what I do for a living. I've networked with top scientists across the country, lawyers, university professors, and politicians. People like Robert Kennedy Jr. and Arun Gandhi. I've interviewed people on both sides of the fracking debate, and I have never seen anyone react like this. Well, nothing if not determined, and at this point, I was a little bothered with how Phelim gets away with making outrageous claims about the safety of fracking without ever answering basic questions about those claims.
Okay, sir, we could finish that conversation. That would be fabulous.
Needless to say,
have
I did not get an interview.
Are you recording me now?
Yes, I am.
You've spammed me on several occasions. You've spammed me, right? Several. You have spammed me. I think you're a spammer.
I thought the insults were just a way to avoid questions, but when I looked up the term spammer, it all made sense. Phelim finds media inquiries about his work disruptive. Phelim McAleer likes to say he asks difficult questions. He lists environmentalists that refuse to answer his powerful questions. Well, now he needs to put his own name on his list. At the Q&A, he told many of the same bad jokes.
If you want to ban fracking, you should have a new bumper sticker, ban fracking today, hang a gay tomorrow. I know people, and as I said on YouTube a lot, my gaff. It's not a gaff, it's the truth. It's a fact.
And made more outlandish claims.
Limerick, Pennsylvania, Dish, Texas, and then a place called Phelim, Wyoming. 3 named places for pollution or fracking. 2 years later, the EPA declared them all to be okay. The media didn't report that because they'd moved on to the next. If you like renewable energy, Michael Moore, Josh Fox, all those people, the next time their child or mother is going to hospital, they need to go to a hospital that's powered entirely by renewables. So that when their child is on the operating table, they're worried about the sun shining and the wind blowing. And then I'll believe they're serious about renewables, when they're willing to risk their mother or their child to a hospital powered entirely by renewables. And you know what? They won't do it.
Did I mention that Phelim is the director of the first mainstream climate science denial film? Not evil, just wrong. In the spring of 2015, after over a year of media inquiries and phone messages, Phelim returned my phone call. He returned my call on my work landline, which was not set up to record the conversation. Here you can hear Phelim a bit. The Texas Supreme Court had just overruled a Range Resources conspiracy charge in the Parker County water contamination case.
Yeah, since the Texas Supreme Court just overturned all of the conspiracy charges against Alyssa and Steve Lipsky, I was curious if you were going to address that in your coverage, since your film says that they're, that's basically most of your coverage on Steve's case is the conspiracy accusation. So I was just curious. Oh, Steve Lipsky is a fraudster as far as you're concerned, and what evidence would you be looking at for that?
He just continued calling these people liars and frauds no matter what. The accusation of fraud came from the operator who polluted these wells. Again, that's Range Resources. Range Resources accused their own water contamination victim of defamation and sued the polluted family for $3 million. All of the claims in Frack Nation about the Parker County case are from this lawsuit. Phelim even goes a step further and claims the Lipskys pumped propane into their water as a hoax. The Lipskys somehow fooled Duke University, the federal EPA, the Texas Railroad Commission, and a score of others who have tested the water well and found serious contamination.
So we're here at the home of Mr. Steve Lipsky in Parker County, Texas. We're doing some ambient air testing. We've been out here testing for more than 3 years, looking at groundwater quality, and today we're just taking some basic measurements looking at hydrocarbons in the air. Previously, our team at UT Arlington, we've detected BTEX compounds, benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, xylene. We've detected cyclohexane. We've detected chlorinated compounds, dichloromethane, chloroform. We've detected these exogenous, which means they should not be in the water, constituents in Mr. Lipsky's water. We've also done the quantification of methane in his groundwater. It is well above the 28 parts per million threshold, which is deemed as an explosion hazard by the Department of the Interior. That's when water becomes flammable.
And the last thing I'd really like to talk with you about, and I'd like to give you a really honest offer, is we would like you to come out to Steve Lipsky's and see this flame that you call a fraud. You know, there's a new white paper that just came out and new testing that's being done. The EPA, OIG is going to be likely opening that case again. The methane coming out of that wellhead is at 92% gas. Your proposition that he put propane in the well himself, that's not even in the Lofton ruling. You just completely made that up. So,
the Texas Supreme Court threw out Range's claims that the case was a conspiracy. And he said that the court ruling that was just overturned by the Texas Supreme Court is his evidence. Even though the Texas Supreme Court just threw his evidence out, he's just going to cling to it. He continued to call Calvin Tillman and Steve Lipsky frauds. They aren't.
Asking you if you will change your coverage now that there's an issue. No, you won't change your coverage now that there's an issue. Well, of course I knew you were going to say that. You don't accept that Steve Lipsky is not a fraudster. Is that what you're telling me? Okay. Well, why don't you, how then have all of these universities that have come out, Duke, and all of these universities found high levels of methane, benzene, toluene, BTEX compounds coming out of his water well? How is that possible if he's a fraud? Well, you may think you're not answering questions for me again, but you will be, because the public debate is going to be had. And so these questions are going to come out, and whether or not you want to answer them, that's up to you. But if you think that some journalist only gets to ask you 4 questions and then they never have a right to ask you anything else again, I'm sorry, you're sadly mistaken. Okay, that's fine. Okay, well, you brought it up, and that's fine. I'm saying that we haven't done an interview, and a claim that we have is ridiculous, so we'll set that straight. But I will let you know, again, I'm really not going to send you the Duke information, because you could get that yourself if you're not going to continue to talk with me about the case. If you'd like to have a continuing dialogue, I'd be happy to send you the Duke information, but I'm sure that you and I will be meeting in the public square quite soon, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And thanks for your call. I really appreciate it. I love my job.